Caitlin never gets to walk by a TV that kind of explains what's happening in New York City, or stuff like that, where I felt like it had been played out a little bit, but I also felt like in Shyamalan's Signs, it was perfect.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
I want to start out talking about, because clearly, like, we're both movie fans, and Aliens have been a great staple of movies. They were a big part of my life in terms of films growing up, from the great, so you got Spielberg and Carpenter and Villeneuve and Ridley Scott and James Cameron. So just as a movie fan, what have you learned about this type of film by being a movie fan that both taught you what to do and what not to do within this genre?
Yeah, I mean, I think it came from a bunch of different places, but I think there's a lot of things that I had, the idea that, you might probably don't get to direct more than one Alien movie, and so there's a little bit of a kitchen sink. I just wanted to make sure, okay, if this is the one Alien movie I get to do everything I can and want. And then there were other things that I didn't want to do, like the Caitlin never gets to walk by a TV that kind of explains what's happening in New York City, or stuff like that, where I felt like it had been played out a little bit, but I also felt like in Shyamalan's Signs, it was perfect and amazing. And so anything that I was like, well, I can't compete with that, I stayed away from. So like the more intense stuff like Fire in the Sky, I was like, that's perfect. I'm just gonna do a weak sauce version if I try to go near it. So I'm just gonna avoid it altogether.
One of the things I most love about this movie is that we don't ever see the aliens hovering over the White House or other
Yeah.
monuments. It felt very, because for most people, if this was happening, this movie would be much closer to their experience than an
Right.
Independence Day kind of thing. Like most of us would
No.
probably not know or get to see, the pyramids hovering over the, or I'm sorry, the aliens hovering over the pyramids, or whatever
Right.
the case may be. Can you just talk about that choice to sort of keep it in this small community, this tight knit community, and whether that was a freedom or a restraint on your part as a filmmaker?
Yeah, the goal was always that, in talking with the studio too, is always you wanted the audience to feel like they were holding Caitlin's hand and hiding with her and doing everything with her. Like they really harped on the idea that it was an experiential movie as opposed to like a big scope kind of thing. And there's definitely scope with the movie, but really wanting to confine it to, if Caitlin can't see it, you can't see it, kind of logic. So it was really that. And then I think also there was something really scary about the fact that she couldn't figure out what was going on. I think some of that chaos in having to put the pieces together herself is really nerve-wracking. As opposed to, if I think there's a little bit of not hand-holding, but like you once you are told like, oh, there's UFOs in Peru, you're kind of like, okay, well, I know what that is, and I'm set. As opposed to Caitlin doesn't know if they're coming back. She doesn't know what they're here for. She doesn't know anything, and it felt like there was more horror in her not getting information, which I know is counterintuitive to a lot of how movies are done now. And then the biggest challenge of that was, getting audiences to understand that it wasn't the aliens specifically picking on Caitlin Deaver's character. It was happening all over the place, but we were just really confined to Caitlin. Because I think the first time we showed some friends, the big question was like, well, why are they bullying her? As opposed, and that was so that in the edit we had to really work to kind of illuminate like this is happening all over the place. But we're just really confined to Caitlin's point of view.
I'm going to get to her in a second because she is phenomenal in this. But I
Yeah.
feel like when it comes to alien films, there are a few big decisions that you have to make as a storyteller right off the bat. Which in the first one, I would imagine one of the first is, are they good or are they bad? Like, do they want to impart knowledge or do they want to kill us?
Right.
So I'm sort of curious, how much freedom does that decision offer you? Does your journey change once you decide what kind of aliens that you're working with?
Yeah, and this one was interesting because their motivation is a little murky. Like you don't. I think they're doing bad things, but under the impression that they're doing good. And so then that was an interesting element. And one of the conversations I would have with the studio a lot is, you know, these aliens and UFOs, they're putting out fires, they're not starting fires. And so then that became an interesting push and pull with the movie where they need to be aggressive and focused and antagonistic, but they're not here to like nuke the world either. Like they have a very specific goal in mind, and seem to be very curious about the planet on top of that. And so that was the fun thing, was I think Beyond Good or Bad really trying to make them feel like their logic was alien to us. Like they do things that don't really make sense as a person, but hopefully the audience goes, well, in their, you know, alien brain, it probably makes total sense. So that was kind of a goal of ours, was just to really impart that these were very intelligent beings that also maybe didn't think linearly or didn't have the same emotional range as we might have. And that might lead to some problems for characters, but that they weren't necessarily just, you know, werewolves, you know, running around. We have really fun werewolf moments, but that really wanted to impart that these are very intelligent. They're explaining to Caitlyn's character what's happening all the time. Caitlyn doesn't understand what they're saying. And so it just felt like that was kind of our goal more than good or bad, just kind of make them feel otherworldly.
I picture them like just, you know, up there like arguing, like I'm trying to tell her, like I don't know what do you want me to do, like I'm trying to. I'm talking about decisions you have to make. I would imagine that aside from are they good or are they bad, another decision you have to make is what they're going to look like. And I love the alien design in this film.
Oh, cool, good.
What was that process like? How soon in the process did you have to decide what they were going to look like?
I wrote in the script writing, really, and then it got better and evolved. But I think for me it was always the idea that it was going to use the kind of the classic gray alien look, and then knowing that unlike a lot of these movies, you know, our aliens kind of reveal themselves 5 minutes into the movie, and so having something where as soon as Caitlyn's character sees a glimpse of it, she kind of instantly knows it's an alien. It's not a burglar or a vampire or whatever else it could be. So she knows it's an alien and the audience knows it's an alien. And then we get to have fun with adding little bonus features and subspecies and all these little tricks up our sleeve, even though, you know, 5 minutes in the movie, we're kind of showing the full shark instead of hiding it until the end.
Yeah, which honestly, I was surprised. My girlfriend and I watched it together, and 5 minutes in, we go, "Oh shit, we're in this now. They're not playing around." So speaking of about 30 minutes into the film, I sort of looked over at my girlfriend and I asked, "Has she spoken yet?" Like it took me a while to realize how much of this, not entirely, but how much of this movie is dialogue free. And I'm sort of curious, was that a conscious decision on your part, or did you get halfway through the script and go, "Oh shit, I haven't written any dialogue"?
Yeah, I got halfway through the script, and then kind of realized it. But it was always she was alone for so much of the movie, and that was, you know, knowing that she didn't have a community and she didn't have relationships, so it didn't, and was, you know, and especially in the first half when you're getting to know her, you just assume that she's scared of people. So that was really fun to like. There's never like a necessity for it. And then I got like, you know, halfway and I was like, well, I can see this through to the end.
It honestly, but it's still like you didn't need it. Like there was never a moment where because one of my pet peeves in movies is when a character is alone and they're talking to themselves, but clearly it's written dialogue because they don't trust that we're going to understand what they're going through. And I love that you didn't do that. Like there was never a moment where I questioned what she was thinking or what she was doing. I think that's a testament to her performance because she is phenomenal.
She's so great. Yeah. And I told her too, like, I hate talking to yourself dialogue. And I told her, it's like, if I write it, it's going to be terrible, but you can talk to yourself all the time. And we brought up Robin Williams and Popeye a lot because he's just kind of always mumbling and muttering to himself. And she does kind of throughout the movie, like every now and again, she's like muttering to herself, and it's not subtitled and we didn't clean up the audio for it or anything, but it was just like, if it feels natural, like talk away. But yeah, anytime like you have a character by themselves and they're kind of stroking their chin and laying out the facts, it's really brutal.
Because
So,
like the
yeah.
like indecipherable mutters is how I feel like how people talk. Like no one talks to themselves in clear, perfect,
Yeah,
articulated sentences. Like it's I feel like that's
yeah,
how you did it is how again, just like everything else in this film, how it would be. I've taken up a lot of your time already, so I'm going to cut you loose on a big, scary question that you're going to hate to answer.
cool.
Your favorite movie alien of all time?
Favorite favorite movie Alien is E.T.
Ooh,
I
you
mean,
went good.
I went good. Well, I mean, it's just such an amazing. I think people forget that it is a person in a puppet suit, and just the magic of how incredible that performance is, and it's like a perfect performance, and it's not real. And I think people often forget that it's not real, and like that, it feels like the most connected anyone's ever been to an alien on screen. So I'll go with good and go with ET.
People talk about ET like how they talk about Tom Hanks, just
Yeah,
like he's like he was in the movie, like he was a star, he was great.
yeah, yeah. He was, yeah. It's a perfect perfect everything. But yeah, I'll go with ET.
Just a nerdy question for myself. I just love. I mean, this movie was so tight, and it just moved at such a perfect clip. Was this the end all be all? Was there ever anything else? Was there any fat on it? Because it felt. I mean, every like this thing just moved perfectly.
Oh, good. No, there's a couple like little scenes that got deleted and like trimmed, but it was always the goal when I set the movie up. I was like, I want it to be under 90 minutes and just really relentless. That like by the end of it, you're just kind of like, "Whew," you know. So that was definitely always the goal and the intention. And we didn't honestly shoot enough days to have a ton of leftover material. So there's like one or two little beats and scenes, but for the most part, it's what it is. Yeah.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.